Hi, I'm Gianna Madrini. I'm here with Deep Ellum 100. We're here for our third round virtual grant meeting, and I'm here with Chris Llewellyn of Llewellyn Printing and Pete Friedman of Central Track. Thank you so much for helping us raise the $10,000 to reach our goal, and this is going to allow us to distribute 4 grants here in the Deep Ellum community to service workers, to visual artists, small businesses, and musicians. And I'm going to start with the service workers and introduce you to some of the applicants who applied for a grant. And if you're not familiar with Deep Ellum 100, Deep Ellum 100 is completely crowdsourced and completely crowdfunded. So we're relying on you to help us select the grant recipients. And let's get started with the service workers. And the first person I have on my list is Cody Shavers. Cody is a service worker. He's worked at 3 Links, Monkey King, and the band the Blanche Davidians. He said he's had a complete loss of income due to COVID and now facing homelessness. The storm destroyed his house, and in fact he worked for Chris, right? He worked for you at Llewellyn Print Shop and 3 Links before being furloughed in March, and was unable to get unemployment due to most of his income being 1099 work. He says, I started working at Monkey King to make up for some of the lost income, but was never able to get ahead of the bills, and have spent the last year chasing rent and trying to cover my bills. When the storm came, it burst every pipe in our trailer, and we were currently trying to get the money to move. He did complete a GoFundMe and was able to raise $1,420, and says that the $2,500 grant would help him get back on his feet and get into a new housing situation. So that is Cody Shavers. And amazingly, this time around, we only had 2 service workers apply. Last time we had quite a few more service workers, but the other person we have that is in the service worker category is James Love. James is a service worker. He worked at Brain Dead. He says, I currently do not have medical or dental insurance and can't afford it, and am desperately needing dental work. He has not completed any other donation programs and could use the money to take care of getting new dental work. So that is the 2 service workers that I have, and with that, I want to pass it along to you, Chris. Okay.
All right. Hi, I'm Chris Llewellyn, and today I have the visual artists, and we'll start with Melissa Moore. She said she's lost several shows, not just in Deep Ellum, but also in Tyler, surrounding areas over the last year. Some have definitely been postponed, and some are hopefully being delayed only 3 to 6 months. She was only able to work 6 months last year due to health issues and fear of COVID. Usually supplement my income with art shows and art sales. Last year has been put on hold due to COVID, and on top of health issues, which are autoimmune related and put me at a higher risk category. That's really been a huge concern for me, being the sole provider for my 3 daughters. I do not have health insurance, and on top of it all, I was recently diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. I still paint every day though, and my daughters are a huge part of my inspiration to keep me to keep on keeping on. I get my first vaccine tomorrow, and hopefully that shows will start opening back up, and that things will be back to normal in the safest way possible. And that was Melissa Moore. Then we have Victor Ortiz. Prior to the pandemic, I was putting on monthly art and music experience at Wits End, where I do live paintings called Boom Boom Pun. I have a studio space in Oak Cliff, Elevate Studios, and was partnering with a friend to run his shop, his print shop in Phoenix. I was barely starting to manage all pretty well, then COVID hit and I lost almost everything. No more live painting, no more art shows, and no more shows in Deep Ellum. No more print shop in Phoenix. I barely kept my studio space at Elevate. Basically, all my paying gigs were on hold or shut down, so I had to get on unemployment and dip into my savings to cover rent and other living costs. After my roommates moved out last April, I'm still looking for work and gigs, but my biggest loss was this December due to COVID. I've slowly been picking up the pieces and following my father's wishes to pursue my dreams as a visual artist, and that's because Victor's father died in COVID.
And you work with a lot of these visual artists work for you at Little Company, right?
Yes,
You
yeah.
employ a lot of artists.
Yes. This is Jared Davies,
Everybody knows Jared Davies.
pretty much as Detox well, the majority of the murals and artwork I've done for the restaurants and live events, so to say that business has crawled to a halt is an understatement. I've had some savings set aside, but went through that the first 6 months of COVID. I invested into my own into printing my own prints now, which is exciting, but really need art markets and live events to sell them at. I'm a new father, so splitting my time between parenting and earning income for myself and family has been very challenging. Plus, I can't spray paint at home in my garage because the fumes are too dangerous for the baby. So just trying to find my way and get back into a groove where I can stay working, self-employed Dallas artist. This grant will go directly to paying rent and buying groceries and a roll of canvas for a new painting to sell. And this is Shane McCormick. His business is Shane McCormick Photography. And I've had to end studio lease with other photographers who were located next to Fair Park and moved into a smaller apartment that I can shoot in. I've struggled through COVID trying to book more shoots and find clients. I used to be able to cover events and shows all around Deep Ellum, but now that has ground to a halt. And that was Shane McCormick. And then Kate Booth. And Kate Booth has been a visual artist around here for 25, 30 years?
Yeah, I've been to, I guess,
Tree.
Curtain Club back in the
Yeah.
day. It's just paintings all over.
Right.
And currently, I don't know if you guys know, but they've already gutted Curtain Club, but they're cutting out the windows for a new restaurant. It's goodbye to Curtain Club, forever. Now the whole image of it is no more.
Yeah. All right, so Kate Booth. Well, we have filed with our IRS back in July and had to amend the return, and so that caused their IRS tax return and their stimulus money that caused that to get delayed, and so much longer than anyone would expect. And so since then, they have not processed their 29 return or 2020 return and hit a halt on that. So they're waiting. He said the waiting and stress of watching the mailbox every day has been beyond belief. This has obviously put us in a position to reaching out to our families to stay afloat. Ella, his daughter, is doing virtual school from home, so Kelly, his wife, can't work. I'm working a day job, 9 to 5, but all that covers is rent. Recent weather closed down the shop for a week, and that put a big hit on income. He does his best to supplement his income with artwork. There are lots of bills piling up and dental work that needs to be done. All this pressure on me has to take on more art projects while working the day job. Pretty much day after day, I deposit my paycheck. We pay so much out that our account hovers around $60 till the next paycheck. I make any art sales that I can, and that money goes too quick. We're just trying to stay in our house. Any help would be greatly appreciated.
And I just want to say, we're really grateful to everyone who donated to this third round of grants. To date, we have raised $30,000, $20,000 last year because we did 2 rounds, and we were able to distribute 4 grants. And this time around, we just made our $10,000 goal, and we will be able to distribute 4 grants. One will go to a service worker, to a visual artist, to a small business, and a band or musicians. And if you're not familiar with Deep Ellum 100, as I said, Deep Ellum 100 is 100 people who give a damn about Deep Ellum. That's really what it's about. And we rely on the people who donate to our campaign to help us select the recipients. So we're counting on you to help us select the grant winners. And We have a couple more categories to go. We've got the musicians, and this time around we had a ton of musicians. So Pete's going to talk about the bands that applied, and he's probably familiar with most of them, so I'm going to hand it over to Pete.
Thanks. But before I get into the, 10 or so musicians who applied, just real quick, I think everyone who's probably watching this is familiar with Deep Ellum 100, and I applaud everyone who's contributed to this. I think the one thing that really is great about Deep Ellum is that when times are tough, the neighborhood really does take care of its own, historically has, and I've seen that countless times over the years. These last 12 months have obviously been rough going for a lot of people. So I think when we first had talks about this, we weren't expecting to do 3 rounds of this that we have in like a 12-month span. I think, it's been a lot, but it's that we've been able to successfully raise $10,000 for 4 separate $2,500 grants 3 times now, I think is again a testament to everyone and their support for this neighborhood. So thank you to everyone who has contributed, and also thank you to the applicants, because I think it takes a lot to ask for help sometimes, and people are, we all have pride, and it can be tough to swallow that, and certainly to share some of these stories that we're sharing here today. So I have been tasked with going over some of the musician applicants, so I'm going to dive right in. First up, we've got Kevin Smith, who performs under the names Only 1K5, aka Everything 5. He says, and I quote, "I've been affected by COVID in many ways. I was terminated from my lease due to lack of income, which then led to non-rent payment. I had plans to start a clothing line for my brand, but I didn't have enough resources or funds to do so. So the impact has just been compounding. I've been trying to find work over and over, and been reliant on unemployment benefits, but I've faced many difficulties in doing so. I was funding my own music accessories and studio times, visual representation, and so on, and all that has just ground to a halt. All this impact has caused me to be faced with homelessness." Next up, we have Tamara Daniels, who performs under the name Damsel Music. She says, "I have lost all my income, all my bookings, and everything that is involved in that, which has caused me to also be displaced. I've lost everything, my home, its furnishings, my car, and clothes. This money would help me get back on my feet." Next up, we have Ahmed Washington, who performs as AJ Chaka. Ali says, "My opportunities to perform have been cut in half, with limited resource space available and having to take on a heavier financial burden to handle various marketing costs. I'm working 2 jobs, going to school, and being an artist, and all the while helping to care for my special needs sibling." Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, everyone, that's the difficulty of this, is everyone has a lot, and I know we wish we could help everyone. The hope with the $2,500 grants is that we're providing, I think, a substantial enough amount to help 4 people, and the hope is that they can kind of stabilize their situation. So that's why we're going through these stories, as heartbreaking as they may be to hear. I know they're difficult to read. The idea being that by sharing these stories, we find someone that resonates with you guys, the donors, who will then be asked to help select from within each category who you personally, whose story you were most touched by. Next up, we have Jaden Chanja, performs as Jaden Chan. They say, "My main source of income is music performance. I play guitar and bass and sing. With quarantine forcing bars closing in Deep Ellum, COVID has taught me a lesson in perseverance. Through the last year until now, I've worked to maintain and fortify my belief in the power of art through which anything can happen. I know that what I do makes a positive influence, which is why I continue to practice and why I continue to sing on the streets of Deep Ellum. The resources made available to sustain my home while I seek to regain stability have helped affirm my belief that music will always be there for us to make peace." That reference there is that to that resources available is that Jaden was able to raise $1,000 through the MusiCares COVID-19 Relief Fund previously. Next up, we have Dre Watson, who performs as Neo Soul, and that's SOHL. Dre says, I haven't been able to host or perform at a paid gig for a year now. Hosting and performing was a major source of income for me to help cover expenses, and without those, I am in a difficult spot. Got just a few more here. I had the heavy load here, so bear with me. Next up, we have Jordan Edwards, who Jordan performs under various aliases and names as DJ IMU of House of Frequencies and as a band member of House of Frequencies.
And he does his little monsters.
Jordan does a lot of things. Yeah, Jordan does a ton of stuff.
Really fantastic.
Well, he mentions that in here, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. All right, so Jordan says, hey there, financially is how I've been affected through this pandemic. Having a DJ residency with House of Frequencies every Monday at Shoals was great weekly income, and getting to play venues like Three Links and Dada and Armory Deep Ellum provided both fun and lucrative opportunities. I also worked as a chef, and my friends and I would have food pop-ups at private events off of Main Street in Deep Ellum. All these chances are no longer available because of COVID. In many ways, the pandemic has left me in a spot that required me to become resourceful and think outside the box for ways to make ends meet and help others as much as I can. To that end, I started the Free Art Project as a way to show support to local businesses by making art out of scrap wood and giving the art away at different places and businesses and promoting it on social media. I'm now trying to earn back some income by making furnitures, but the cost of supplies can be very difficult to deal with. I could use the help, but no matter what, I send y'all and all the applicants much love.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Next, we have Amir Gray, who performs as Too Bad, like tuba, but bad. Bad meaning good, surely. Since the original shutdown of the gigs, the gigs I've received have gone down exponentially. Fewer club gigs and most of the weddings that I perform at have been canceled. To make ends meet, I've had to street perform in order to figure out ways to pay my rent. And then lastly, we have Beverly Etta, who performs as Loners Club. Beverly writes, due to the pandemic, or prior to the pandemic, I was a teaching artist for DISD, and my program shut down officially as a result of the pandemic. My family, various family members of mine caught COVID. I lost my place. I had an engineer and friends suffer untimely deaths. And I myself was in the hospital for the last 6.5 months and is still semi-recovering. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Music has always been my sanity and my overall purpose. Due to everything that I've been enduring, as well as bills in general, for survival, most of my budget is gone, along with any savings I had as well. I'm just trying to keep things going in the name of survival. Beverly was able to raise $200 or $210 in a personal GoFundMe that she had, but that's those are the musicians, and I think it shouldn't be surprising at all to find out that musicians were the largest applicant pool that we had. I mean, it is the lifeblood and really genesis of this neighborhood in so many ways. So hopefully one of these stories stood out to who are watching, and let's get them some help.
Thank you, Pete. So we've got one more category, that's the small businesses, and a lot of small businesses have been affected. We were talking before our meeting today about how January, February are sometimes the coolest months, and things seem to be really picking up, and Deep Ellum is beginning to really become vibrant again. So thanks for everybody who patronizes the neighborhood. Obviously this is putting everyone back to work, including the visual artists and the musicians. But I have 5 or 6 small businesses who applied, and so we'll talk about some of these guys and tell you about who they are. First person is Jean-Marc. He is with Purify Bowls, and Purify Bowls is a juice bar that opened up here in Deep Ellum. He does Purify bowls and smoothies, and he said we signed a lease for Purify right before COVID hit. When it hit, we had to delay build-out and opening, which significantly cut our budget since the landlord would not budge. Luckily, we managed to open late summer 2020. The enthusiasm quickly died as I realized a lot of our potential clientele was self-quarantining. We also chose to close down the store for a couple days every time someone with COVID or an employee or customer was diagnosed. The cold, rainy days followed by the severe storm, the Dalaska episode, hit us even harder as our funds were too low to launch any new products. No grants or loans were available to us as we could not prove a decline in revenue from 2019 since they did not exist at that time. We've been minimizing our losses and loading up the credit cards, hoping brighter and warmer days will bring people out. So that is Purify bowls and smoothies. And next I have Jeff Newton. Jeff Newton runs Doppelganger Screen Printing. He's been here in Deep Ellum for over 25 years, and I think everybody knows Jeff. He's a skater dude. He's just a visual presence in the neighborhood. And Jeff says, I've been in Deep Ellum for over 25 years, and 90% of my business is bars, bands, and restaurants. Since the closures, my business is all but completely dried up. $2,500 would help me, would go a long way towards help me keep me afloat and until business picks back up. That is Doppelganger Screen Printing. And let's see who else we have. We have Brian Bethel. Brian Bethel owns a small agency called the White Pants Agency. And White Pants Agency is a creative and digital marketing agency located here in Deep Ellum. They lost a significant amount of revenue because of COVID. Most of the revenue is from travel and hospitality clients. We have made a tremendous effort to not lay off any employees and support our clients while they have been under hardship at the expense of the business. A grant would greatly help us get through and see the light at this tunnel. Here's a small agency that is a creative agency in our neighborhood, and yes, we are thankful that so many small businesses applied. We have a salon next. One of the small salons here in Deep Ellum is called the Coffney M Salon. Her name is Coffney Johnson, and she says, our salon has taken several hits from the riots, the pandemic, and then having to close our doors for months, and then trying to reopen and not being able to charge as much when we reopened. But through it all, we've banded together as a team, pushing, and a grant would be greatly appreciated and put directly back into our salon, which is a place of creativity, diversity, and heart and soul. Coffney M Salon did do a fundraiser. They raised $1,900 to $2,000, and they're doing everything they can to attract business, is what they say. Okay. Next up, we have a project called Lone Sound Magazine. I recently got a chance to meet Jamie and hear a little bit more about her new magazine. It's called Lone Sound Magazine, and she says, I started Lone Sound to create the first bilingual print magazine. It's online and in print for Texas music, arts, and culture. Our revenue model is focused on venue, brand sponsorships, ad creative partnerships, or event tours, etc. Consequently, we started a podcast during the pandemic, and in the meantime, due to the losses in ad opportunities and going through all my savings in the past year, I am looking for a grant to help pay for what we do in the arts and culture in Deep Ellum, in Dallas and Deep Ellum. This will go towards Texas-based creatives, writers, illustrators, photographers, translators to help for our first pilot issue. although I've had to postpone my release date, I feel that Lone Sound is still needed more than ever. We plan to release the pilot issue coming up later this month or early June. And she has not completed any GoFundMe programs, but that is Lone Sound Magazine. And the last applicant that I have is a musician, Das Glue. He's a promoter. Anyway, his name is Chris Rucker. The name of his organization is Das Glue. And here at Das Glue, we're the mold between the quality local talent and organized music showcases. We had just come off our first second day Yin Yang Festival and gearing up for our best year yet when the panorama hit and it forced us to cancel our entire 2020 calendar. In regards to my personal health, I was infected with the virus in the summer, which gave me the worst anxiety, fear of falling asleep and not being able to wake up. Financially, COVID has taken me out and put me out of work for over 8 months, and I'm unable to collect any benefits. I've had to drain all of my savings to keep a roof over our heads for my wife and daughter, Luna. And fast forward to March 2021. As I am writing this, myself and my family are still suffering from the hit we took last March. Lack of funds have limited my platform to surge the way we intended last year, and now has forced me to change my career plans completely to try and keep Das Glue running. If you are reading this, thank you for your time. Aside from all the BS, this past year has taught me resilience. My finances may be in shambles, but my spirit stays firm knowing that we will come out of this pandemic stronger. Thank you, Deep Ellum 100, for this amazing platform, keeping the community strong. Much love. Thank you, Chris Rucker. So that was Das Glue. And so yes, these are the people that need our help. If you donated $100 to our campaign, then you will receive an email that says, these are the applicants, and you can vote directly with the link that we provide in there. So keep an eye out for the email that will be coming, and we will probably give everyone this next week through the end of the week and the weekend to vote, and then we will plan to announce the winners after that. And that's the fun part, when we get to announce the winners and congratulate them and learn where they are now. Pete, anything else? Anything you'd like to say?
Just that this whole situation sucks, and we wouldn't. We'd prefer to not have to be doing this, but like I said before, Deep Ellum's really great about taking care of its own. It sucks hearing these stories. It's just like, a sob story after another, and I don't mean that in a way that it of pity. It's I think all of us can relate on some level, and it's a testament to this neighborhood that we've been able to raise $30,000 through 3 campaigns now, and that people are still comfortable sharing their stories of heartache and struggle, and like I was saying before, that's not easy. I can say that firsthand. So thanks to all the applicants, thanks to all the donors, and let's just thanks for taking care of this neighborhood. As we were talking about earlier, it seems like by the day this neighborhood is losing less and less of the grit that made it what it was, but the actions of that Deep Ellum 100 is collectively taking, I think, is a sign that some of it remains yet. So thank you to everyone who participated, applied, and is watching this right now.
Yes, really want to thank everyone for tuning in, and please keep an eye out for an email if you donate to our campaign, and please participate. Feel free to direct messages us on Instagram or our other platforms and let us know if you need any help. Deep Ellum 100 is 100 people who give a damn about Deep Ellum, and we're so grateful to everyone for helping make this possible. And we will be really excited to distribute the grants to our our 4 grant winners, and that will be coming up after the voting is complete. I'd like to just let Chris say a few words, since he works with so many of the musicians, and I'm sorry, with the visual artists, and he can tell you a little bit about, you know, what life has been like for people like yourself, you know, who run a business that's reliant on.
I think you're already dealing with someone who's on the fringe of making money already and trying to figure it out, and then to get hit with something and the rug swept under their feet is really kind of a testament to how fragile our lives are as artists, and to see their resilience and their grit, as you said, to pick up and try to move forward is pretty amazing. You see that with the visual artists, the musicians, and definitely the shop owners and businesses. So I'm thankful to be a part of this. I think y'all have done an amazing job, and Gianna, you've worked really, really hard at this and made such a beautiful showing of the love that this neighborhood has for its other neighbors. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Well, again, thanks again for tuning in and listening to us. And your donations help to keep the creatives, you know, going. And thanks for keeping Deep Ellum gritty.